So it seems that Martin Mayhew came out during the meetings this past week to reinforce the fact that the Washington Commanders are 100% behind Sam Howell. They have all the faith in Sam Howell and feel like that he is going to be the Washington Commanders starting quarterback, or at least he's going to be the one heading into training camp this year to be the number one guy. Now, remains to be seen. He also mentioned Jacoby Brissett. So, you know, Jacoby is certainly going to push Sam for that number one spot. They feel comfortable with their quarterback position going into the season. Now, if you talk to a lot of fans, they're kind of split on this. Some fans are really high on Sam Howell. Other fans feel like that we have not made a move to really land a solid quarterback. Certainly you're going to have fans out there who want Lamar Jackson, and you're going to have fans out there who feel like if not Lamar Jackson, we haven't done enough to try to get a big name quarterback, or we're not going to do enough to try to move up to get one of the quarterbacks in the draft. And it's one of those things where it's like I go back to the unsexy moves that I feel like that an organization has to make to really build up a team from inside out. And I always go by the philosophy that if you're going to build a championship team, it starts within the trenches. You got to build the trenches up first, because that is really where it happens, folks. It's within the trenches. We've built up the defensive line. We got to build up that offensive line. And for the offense, if you have a poor offensive line, then your offense is not going to work. At least it's not going to work at its full potential. It doesn't matter who's behind center. They're just going to be running for their life on every snap. So I think it's very important to focus on offensive line and things like that. Having said all of that, we did look at the quarterback position last year. I felt like drafting Sam Howell in the 5th round was a steal for us. I really do, and I still feel that way. Sam Howell could have been drafted much higher last year. For one reason or the other, he fell to the 5th round. And I do feel like he was a steal. Now, keep in mind, there have been other players in the past who turned out to be big-time players who fell in the draft and who turned out to be Hall of Fame players, Super Bowl players, championship caliber players. And so it happens all the time. And I'm not saying that Sam Howell is going to be any of those. I hope he is. But I am just saying that just because he fell to the 5th round, excuse me, doesn't necessarily mean that he is 5th round talent. A lot of teams had him marked as a much higher round talent last year than 5th round. So it was a big shock. It was a surprise to a lot that he did fall as far as he did. But he did, and the Commanders picked him up. And so I think you got to look at that. I don't think you turn a blind eye to the fact that the Commanders did kind of address the quarterback position last year by drafting Sam Howell. And he had a pretty decent preseason last year, and then he came in that last game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys team who had all of their starters in. They had everything to play for in that game, and besides one bad play, really, that one pick in the end zone, Sam Howell played really well in that game. He made some really good decisions. He seemed very fluid out there with his motions, with how he moved in the pocket. He scrambled at the time he needed to scramble. He looked good. He did not look like a developmental quarterback to me whatsoever. And so I really think that Sam Howell is a guy that you can trust to be behind center coming this season. And I think it's a guy that you do, build your team around. And I think that's what they feel like they have with Howell. And I think you do bring in somebody like Jacoby Brissett who will push Howell. And so this is just a sign of like, okay, Sam, we're not just going to give you the keys to the kingdom. You're going to have to earn it. And Brissett, he has been able to go in and start and win football games for other teams. He's a good player. Yes, he's been a journeyman, but he's a good, solid player. He can make the plays. He can make the passes. He's a smart guy. He knows how to play the game. And so he's going to push you. He is going to push you for that starting position. Now, he's not going to be a long-term solution at starter, but he is going to be a guy who's going to come in, he's going to compete. And I think this is a very solid move for the team. Now, people are complaining because Martin Mayhew never makes those big splashy plays, and that's the reason why that you look at his record as a GM in the past with the Lions and whatnot, and they look back to that 0-16 record or whatever it was, 0-15 record with the Lions, and they're like, look, he is not a great GM. I think that people are, they're so fickle. Our fans have been so fickle. It's on one side, they want to see all the splashy moves because they feel like that the team is buying their way to championships. And then on the other side, it's obvious that those same fans who are complaining that there have been no splashy moves are the ones who were not around during the 2000 era when Dan Snyder did just that to try to buy a Super Bowl and it failed miserably. You don't buy Super Bowl championships. Now, yeah, you can look back and say, oh, okay, Greg, what about how the Los Angeles Rams bought a Super Bowl championship by spending all of this to acquire Matthew Stafford? We didn't try to get Matthew Stafford. Well, yes, we did try to get Matthew Stafford, and he was not willing to come to Washington. He did not want to come to Washington. He went to LA. And so we made that effort to acquire him, and he just didn't want to go. He went to the Rams. They won their Super Bowl. Congratulations. And then what kind of season did they have the next season? I'm sorry, but I want a sustained winner. I want to build a team that wins consistently year in and year out. To me, what does it mean if you build a championship caliber team that it's all or nothing for 1 year and then for the next 4 or 5 years they're back to rebuilding again? To me, I don't want to go through that again. I want to build a consistent winner. I'd rather see that and do it slowly than to just buy it for 1 year and then you're one and done. We have went through way too many losing seasons. A couple of decades of fruitless adventures in order to just buy one winning Super Bowl season. I'm not that petty. I am not that petty. So, having said all that, the other thing I'll say on this is that we can't make splashy moves right now in the midst of a franchise sale. The money is not there. We can't do it. We have got to focus on the fact that there's not going to be that big of a change of money right now. And yes, if you see my camera shaking, it is my cat Coco who is moving. Okay, he's leaving now. So you're not going to see those big splashy moves, those big contracts right now because Dan Snyder is not going to be spending that type of money. Now, had the Commanders already been sold prior to free agency, maybe you would have seen some splashy moves by the new owner, but you're not going to see that right now. So you're not going to see the Lamar Jacksons coming in. You're not going to see big splashy names. And I think that's okay right now. I think what we need is we need to continue building depth within this team, and I think just what we need to do in order to build up a good foundation. I know it doesn't sound exciting, but again, I would rather have a team that is built to win consistently year in and year out rather than to put all of your chips on the table for 1 year and one and done. That's me personally. Folks, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, give it a comment if you don't mind. It helps the algorithm out quite a bit. Share it with your buddies. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Washington Football Maniacs. I would really much appreciate your subscription. So with that said, I will see you in the next one. Hey, you stayed until the very end. Thank you so much. Watch another one right now.